Hi, this is Attorney James Ratchford, continuing my series on the 5-step sequential evaluation process for Social Security disability claims. We finally come to step 5, which is really where all the magic happens. Step 5 is, can the claimant perform other work that exists in the national economy? And this is a big, meaty question. In order to get to this question, we do have to get past step 4 because each of the steps is handled in order. And so by the time we get to this question, we're assuming that we've already proven that you cannot perform your past work. None of the jobs from your past work history are going to translate to are going to be performable by you at step 4. So now we are at step 5 where we evaluate other jobs. So there's going to be a couple things that are applied here. First off, we're going to look at transferable skills. Now again, we're going to start with the residual functional capacity, and the judge has to evaluate whether there are jobs that you can perform that have transferable skills from your old work to your new residual functional capacity, or just other jobs that exist in general for people with that residual functional capacity that are unskilled jobs. So let's kind of go back a step and talk about how this is going to happen at the hearing. So we've evaluated your residual functional capacity, and with your testimony and the medical evidence that was prepared, you and your attorney have done your best to get the most restricted residual functional capacity. Now you're at the hearing and you've completed your testimony, and now we're talking to the vocational expert. So the judge has just discussed your past relevant work and is now getting into hypothetical scenarios with different possibilities for the residual functional capacity. So the judge is going to give a hypothetical RFC. So, again, we're talking, light work with a couple of extra restrictions, non-exertional, social, etc. He's going to give that RFC, or she's going to give that RFC, and then say, with that RFC, can the claimant perform their past work? That's step 4, we've already gotten past that. And then the next question is going to be, are there other jobs that someone like the claimant could perform within this RFC? And that's going to be where the burden is on the government to articulate that there are jobs that you can do. And it's going to be up to the vocational expert at this point to say, oh yes, the person could be a office assistant, or an office helper, a packer, a folder, a sorter, any of these different job titles that exist in really the laundry basket that the vocational experts pick from, because the VE is not actually scouring the entire job market from scratch at the time of the hearing. They've got a pre-selected list of common unskilled jobs at different exertion levels that they frequently reference. And those jobs have to be matched up to the residual functional capacity. They are going to consider transferable skills before they consider what is called the grid rules. Now, again, I can do and I will do a whole post just on the grid rules. What you need to know about the grid rules is that if you're over age 50, there are rules that allow you to be found disabled, even if there are jobs that you can perform. So if the grid rule applies, we are not going to care about the jobs that are cited, the jobs that are cited for that particular exertion level, whether it's sedentary or light. If you are over 55 and you're limited to light work and your past work is not light, then we don't need to prove that you can do light jobs, because if you can do light jobs, you're still disabled anyway. If you're between 50 and 55 and you're limited to sedentary work, we're not going to want to hear sedentary jobs, because if the only jobs that you can perform at age 50 to 55 are sedentary jobs, then you are disabled and we don't need those jobs. But if you're under age 50 or your exertion level is above that grid rule threshold, then we're going to want to hear jobs. And the reason we need to hear jobs is because it is the government's burden at step 5 to prove that you can work if in fact they want to deny your claim. And so what's going to happen is the vocational expert is going to come up with jobs that are going to say, yeah, he can perform these different jobs, these representative jobs within that residual functional capacity. And then the judge will go on to the next residual functional capacity hypothetical. And depending on how it goes, you may or may not end up at a place where the judge gives the information that is necessary to find you disabled. So that's really how that analysis is going to work. Now again, where does the advocacy come in? What can you accomplish in order to make your claim more likely to be granted? Well, that's going to be about really getting the most restrictive RFC, because the way you knock out jobs is not by magic with the vocational expert, because that's really not a very good legal strategy. you need to get the limitations that knock out those jobs. So in developing your evidence, you need to develop a residual functional capacity that is incompatible with work that exists in the national economy. And that's going to be how you're going to win at step 5, by having a residual functional capacity with which there are no jobs that are compatible. So to conclude, step 5 is going to be where your RFC is really going to matter, and where it's very important to have an attorney or advocate who can help you to get the evidence that you need in order to restrict your RFC so that the vocational expert cannot find jobs that can be done with your RFC. That's going to be how you win your claim, by getting the judge to agree that you are so limited that no jobs can be performed. So that's the 5-step evaluation process, and there is a lot of nuance to each of these steps, and there's a lot more that we can go into, and there will be further videos. Feel free to contact me if you have specific questions, and if you want to evaluate your case and whether you make it through the 5-step process, and if not, what we need to change in order to get you there. You can find me on jamesratchford.com with more information on my blog and on this YouTube channel. Thank you for watching.